Do you ever feel there's nothing left to give? We often believe generosity requires overflowing abundance, a surplus of wealth, time, or energy. But the true power of dana, giving, lies not in how much we possess, but in the purity of our cetana, intention. Imagine a person, utterly destitute, who decides to share the last morsel they have with someone even poorer. This act, born from an empty hand and a boundless heart, is the most potent seed of Kamma. Tonight, we unearth a profound Buddhist story about radical giving that instantly changed a lifetime of scarcity. Prepare to discover the unexpected, magnificent fruit that ripens when the poorest heart gives its all. The story begins. The landscape of destitution. In the vast tapestry of Jataka tales and Buddhist lore, countless stories highlight the profound laws of Kamma. Our story today centers on a forgotten individual. Let us call him Maya, who lived in the shadow of prosperity. Maya was not just poor. He was utterly destitute. He lived day to day, his only possessions being the worn-out robes on his back and the meager, sporadic earnings from scavenging. His existence was a constant, raw experience of dukkha, suffering, not the philosophical suffering of existence, but the visceral pain of hunger, cold, and loneliness. In this state of acute scarcity, the idea of giving seemed utterly absurd. The world demanded that he take food, take shelter, take care of himself. Giving was a luxury reserved for the rich. This common belief is where most of us stop short of practicing true generosity. But the wisdom of the Buddha challenges this notion fundamentally. Dana paramita, the perfection of giving, is not an economic transaction. It is a spiritual training, the act of the heart, not the wallet. When the Buddha taught the principles of Kamma, he emphasized that the true measure of an action lies in its cetana, volitional intent. In the Anguttara Nikaya numerical discourses, the Buddha clarifies the power of wholesome volition. Intention cetana, I tell you, is Kamma. Having intended, one makes Kamma by body, speech, and mind. A. 63. For Maya, who had nothing, his cetana, the pure, unadulterated will to share, was the only thing he truly owned and the only thing that mattered. If a wealthy person gives $1 million, but their intent is solely to garner praise or a tax deduction, the karmic fruit, while present, is tainted by the self-interest, lobha. Conversely, if a starving person gives away the only bowl of rice they possess, the cetana is pure, devoid of self-interest, and born from a place of radical compassion, Karuna. The act of giving when one is utterly poor requires conquering the deepest fear of all, the fear of non-existence, the fear of complete lack. It is a profound declaration that the suffering of others is more important than my own survival fear. This quality of intent elevates Maya's single, small act above all extravagant donations. The true object of giving, yourself. In our conventional understanding, we think the object of giving is the receiver. But in the deep practice of dana, the primary object of giving is the self. When Maya gives, he is not merely feeding a beggar, he is starving his own inner demons. Starving lobha greed by refusing to cling to the last possession. Starving mana by acting without seeking external validation or praise. Starving bhava, craving for existence, by temporarily sacrificing his own need for immediate survival. This single act of generosity, performed when the conditions are harshest, becomes a purification ritual for the mind. It is a moment of profound vimutti from the mental chains of scarcity. Maya breaks the karmic pattern of poverty not by finding money, but by refusing to let the mind of poverty define his capacity for compassion. This sets the stage for the transformative moment. The gift is small in substance, but infinite in merit, because it comes from a heart that has transcended the logic of survival and stepped into the boundless field of dharma. The unexpected vipaka, karmic fruit, is now certain to follow. The inner battlefield, poverty versus humanity. Let us immerse ourselves in Maya's inner world just before his act of giving. He had managed to secure a single, small bowl of meager food, perhaps stale rice or dried beans, enough to sustain him for one more uncertain day. This bowl represented his future, his immediate survival, and his only protection against the cold, gnawing certainty of hunger. Then he encountered someone else, a figure, perhaps older, more frail, and visibly suffering the same depth of despair. This person was, to Maya, a mirror reflecting his own inevitable fate. The mind, driven by the instinct for self-preservation, screamed, "No! Hold it tight. If you give this, you die. Charity begins at home, and your home is empty." This internal conflict is the crucible where true merit is forged. The battle was fought not between two people, but between Maya's animal instinct, driven by bhava tanha, the craving for existence, and his humanity, driven by Karuna, compassion. The profound lesson here, often lost in discussions of wealth and charity, is that the merit is maximized when the sacrifice is deepest. The value of the gift is inversely proportional to the possessor's attachment to it. Since Maya's attachment to that one bowl was absolute, it meant life itself the moment he decided to release it. The karmic energy generated was astronomical. The three purities of dana: before, during, and after. The Buddhist texts often define three aspects of purity required for the act of giving to yield maximum fruit. Maya's act exemplified all three. Purity, before the act. Cetana. The intention must be clean. Maya didn't give because he was obligated or seeking praise. His initial thought, despite the screaming fear, was a moment of pure empathy. This person is suffering as much as I am, and I can alleviate this pain now. This pure Cetana set the foundation. purity. During the act, Munka Cetana, while the gift is being given, the mind must be free from regret or hesitation. Maya handed over the bowl, not with a sigh of loss, but with a silent, firm resolution. He practiced virya, spiritual energy, to override the deeply ingrained habit of greed. In that split second, his mind was fully present, fully generous, and entirely free from the thought of me or mine. Purity, after the act, apara Cetana. After the gift is gone, the giver must not regret the action, nor boast about it. Maya did not stand around waiting for thanks. He simply moved on, carrying only the lightness of the selfless act. His heart, though physically hungry, was spiritually full. This perfect alignment of intention before, during, and after ensured that the kusala kama, skillful action generated, was whole and untainted. His poverty served as a radical purification method, burning away the possibility of arrogance or attachment that often accompanies wealthy giving. The instantaneous vipaka, the lightness of the heart. The vipaka, karmic result, of such an action is not always a miraculous pile of gold appearing instantly. The first and most important fruit is always mental. For Maya, the immediate result was the cessation of the agonizing mental friction caused by greed and fear. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha states, "The one who conquers himself is the greatest of conquerors." Dhammapada, verse 103. In that moment of radical dana, Maya conquered the deepest enemy, the self-clinging attachment to survival. He experienced an immediate, profound lightness that transcended the physical pain of his hunger. His life was already changed right there, because the mind of poverty, a mind dominated by lack and fear, had been shattered by the power of his generous heart. The external change was just a matter of time, following the internal revolution he had just initiated. The principle of vipaka, the law of reciprocity. After the act of radical generosity, Maya continued his difficult life, physically unchanged, yet internally transformed. The true test of his purity, apara Cetana, was whether he held any expectation of immediate reward. He did not. He had already received the primary reward, the profound peace of knowing he had acted purely, transcending his own survival instinct. However, the law of karma is immutable, and every skillful action, kusala karma, sets in motion an inevitable result, vipaka. The teaching of the Buddha assures us that meritorious action, like a seed planted in fertile ground, will always yield fruit, though the timing remains mysterious. This principle is elegantly summarized in the Anguttara Nikaya. Monks, I do not say that the intentional deed, performed and accumulated, will be destroyed without ripening, in this very life, or in the next, or in some subsequent future life. It will certainly ripen. A. 2. 110. Adapted. Maya's act of giving his last possession planted a seed of unparalleled potency. This seed did not just promise a better future. It broke the entire karmic cycle of poverty that had bound his mind and circumstance. He had, in effect, demonstrated to the universe that his true nature was one of boundless generosity, overriding the superficial condition of his empty pockets. The mechanism of the gift, the ripple effect. The physical turn of fortune for Maya was swift and unexpected, illustrating how the purest karma can accelerate its maturation. While scavenging near the city gates, Maya encountered a situation that seemed mundane, yet was directly engineered by the powerful ripple of his past action. Perhaps he found a purse accidentally dropped by a wealthy merchant, or maybe the very person he had helped was connected to a royal household and recognized him, compelled by gratitude that mirrored Maya's own selfless act. The external circumstance may vary, but the underlying mechanism is the same. The purity of his past intention created the perfect intersection for wealth to flow to him. It is crucial to understand that this was not a magical reward, but a natural consequence. Because Maya had demonstrated he was a worthy vessel of giving a being who valued compassion over material possession, the universe responded by ensuring he had the resources required to fulfill that boundless compassion further. The karma ripened to enable, not just to reward. The moment Maya found himself in a position of sudden, stable wealth, he faced the final, ultimate test of dana, the wealthy giver's test. The ultimate test. Generosity in abundance. Many people are generous when they are poor because they have less to lose psychologically. And many are generous when they are extremely rich because they have an excess. But the test lies in the transition. Will Maya remember the taste of hunger? Will he continue to give with the same purity of Cetana now that he has something to protect? The true vipaka of his original act was not the gold he found, but the fact that the experience of radical scarcity had already purged the lobha greed from his heart. Having conquered the fear of lack when he had nothing, he was now immune to the greed of having. The story concludes with Maya using his new fortune not for selfish indulgence, but to establish a sustained practice of giving, ensuring that no one near him would ever face the crushing choice he once had. His one act of radical dana became a foundational seed, not just for his own prosperity, but for the alleviation of suffering in his entire community. This is the complete cycle of the skillful karma. Poverty teaches purity, purity earns wealth, and wealth is used for greater compassion. Beyond the gold, understanding dana's highest form, Maya's life has been irrevocably changed. He transitioned from relying on the uncertain hand of chance to embodying the stable certainty of kusala karma, skillful action. But the true wisdom of this story does not end with his wealth. It begins with how he uses it. In Buddhist philosophy, there are many kinds of giving. The two primary forms are amisa dana, material giving, giving material things like food, money, or clothing. This alleviates immediate physical dukkha. Dhamma dana, spiritual giving, giving the gift of the Dharma, teaching, guidance, and wisdom. This alleviates the fundamental suffering caused by ignorance, avijja. The Buddha clearly stated the hierarchy of giving in the Dhammapada. The gift of Dhamma excels all gifts. Dhammapada, verse 354. Maya understood intuitively that while his wealth could temporarily stop hunger, only the wisdom of the Dharma could permanently stop the mind of poverty, the mind rooted in tanha craving. His life's mission, fueled by his initial radical act, evolved into sharing the very principle that transformed him, the boundless power of Cetana, the legacy of Cetana, the lasting fruit. Maya's physical wealth allowed him to perform grand acts of amisa dana, building shelters, feeding the poor, and creating infrastructure. However, the most lasting fruit of his original small act was the ability to inspire others. He became a living testament to the law of karma. When he gave, he no longer just offered rice. He offered the story of his life, a profound, non-verbal dhammadana. He was teaching, look at me. I was poorer than you. But the moment I chose generosity over fear, the universe recognized the truth of my heart. Your external circumstances do not define your spiritual wealth. This inspiration is the highest form of merit because it encourages others to plant their own seeds of skillful action, thereby empowering them to change their own destiny. This shift in perspective from seeing oneself as a helpless victim of circumstance to being the conscious architect of one's karma is the ultimate gift of the Dharma, integrating the lesson, the emptiness of the gift. For those of us observing Maya's story, the final lesson lies in the concept of emptiness applied to the act of giving. The highest form of dana involves realizing the three wheels of the gift are empty. The giver Maya is empty of a permanent, separate self, anatta. The recipient is empty of an inherent, fixed self. The gift itself, the bowl of rice, is empty of permanent substance, anicca. When these three factors are seen as merely transient manifestations of cause and effect, the act of giving becomes a pure, unconditioned expression of the Dharma. It generates merit that is boundless because it is free from the boundaries of the self. Maya's life became a luminous demonstration that karma is not fate, it is choice. His choice, made from a position of absolute lack, redefined his reality. The single act of giving, rooted in pure intention, was the ultimate act of self-liberation, revealing the extraordinary potential for transformation that resides in every human heart, regardless of its material condition. The tale of Maya teaches us a radical truth. Your capacity for spiritual wealth is completely independent of your material condition. The single potent act of giving, rooted in pure Cetana, is the greatest karma you can make. When we choose compassion over the fear of lack, lobha, we perform an act of profound self-liberation. The vipaka fruit is not just a change in fortune, but a transformation of the mind from scarcity to boundless generosity. May we all find the courage, even with an empty hand, to plant the seed of dana and witness the magnificence of its ripened freedom.